That's what we got for that Clemson-Georgia game, 34-3. Let's move on to the next game on our list, which is, of course, my Nittany Lions, Dawn. My number 8, Penn State, destroying West Virginia, 34-12 in this game. I will actually be starting off with the grades from this game. So we'll go with the Penn State's top 5 offensive players. We'll talk about a lot of the Penn State offense in just a little bit. But Harrison Wallace, the new number 1 receiver for Penn State, it seems like, 84.4 grade in this game. Nick Singleton at 74.9. Amari Evans, 64.5, another receiver. Drew Aller at a 62.8. And Tyler Warren at a 61. I want to talk about Wallace in a little bit, Dawn. But we've got to talk about the Aller grade a little bit. Because some people might see that and say, oh, it's a little bit low. But, when we were talking about it last night, you made me open my eyes, take off my navy blue colored glasses a little bit and open my eyes a little bit to the Aller performance.
Yeah, I think there's a couple throws in there, like the 2 touchdown throws, the one to the post and the one to the back shoulder that I was talking to some of our great. They were borderline big-time throws. It was like getting close in there. The post was a pretty big window. There were some misses. His misses were on him, right? I believe he was 11 for 17, and most of those, he still has to work on the accuracy. We could see it. There was a curl that he threw low and behind somebody. There was a couple balls that he threw high. Like, it's not all the way there. It's definitely progress. Like, don't make no mistake. Drew Aller, I think the big thing for me that goes beyond the grading is he just looked more confident.
Yeah,
is that the word I'm going for? It's just, he
was talking trash out there.
He looks more confident both as a passer and as an athlete.
Yeah.
I love Andy Kotelnicki, getting him involved in the run game and allowing him, like, dude, if nobody's open, go scramble. Fine. Like, go.
He stiff-armed someone yesterday.
First drive of the game, maybe the second play, game a speed option.
Yeah.
Like, Drew Aller, he's, dude, go be an athlete. Like, I need you to do some of these things, right? And he was more confident. Again, the grading isn't spectacular. There were some misses. There were some hits, definitely. But it's progress. There is no reason for Penn State not to feel optimism about what we saw in this offense. And just we saw from Kotelnicki, that's, for me, I'm actually going to start there real quick. That's my most impressive part of this game is Andy Kotelnicki coming in from Kansas and just creating almost a Big Ten version of this offense. Like at Kansas, it's about creating space, about motion left and right that you're going to get into. It's about creating those windows and run and pass and play action. And Drew Aller specifically looked so confident in what was being called, and I don't think we saw that for a lot of last year.
I agree, man. I agree. I'll get into a stat that tells a story, I think, in just a second. Let's go over to the other grades real quick for the other side of the ball. So Penn State's defense in this game. Jalen Reed, the other safety for Penn State, had a really good game at 81.6. A.J. Harris, the corner, transferred from Georgia at 79.3. Smith Vilbert at a 77.7 in this game. Devon Ellies at a 65.9. And Denai Dennis Sutton, the edge defender, at a 64.2. Really a strong defensive performance all around for Penn State this game. We'll talk about it in a little bit as well, man. So let's go over quickly to the West Virginia offense in this game, who had a rough performance, I would say, compared to what we thought they would have. Nick Malone at 71.4, Jaheim White, the star running back, at 69.2. The other running back, C.J. Donaldson Jr., at 68.6. Tomas Rumack at a 68.3, and Wyatt Milam, the star left tackle, at a 63.9 for the Mountaineers. And then finally, the defensive performance for West Virginia in this game. Josiah Trotter, the younger brother of Jeremiah Trotter, actually, at an 82.9, really good game. Another linebacker, Reed Carrico, at a 71.7. Trey Lathan, another linebacker, 71.5. TJ Jackson at a 71, and Jaheim Joseph at a 70 in this game. So, Dawn, you mentioned before how the Penn State offense was the most impressive part of this game, and I agree with you, man. And I think one stat that I loved looking at this game was that Penn State, their motion, man, they ran so much motion yesterday. They ran at motion on 66.1% of their plays in yesterday's game. Last year, they ran motion on 45.7% of their plays, which was 48th in the country. There's one play you showed me last night where they motioned like a third offensive tackle from like a slot receiver into tackle, and then they ran a run play off it. Man, like, he was getting creative out there. I loved what I saw from Kotelnicki. I saw a great quote from him yesterday as well, where it's like, is it compared to like what, Dairy Queen Blizzard, right?
He said, what did he say? He said, this offense is like a Dairy Queen Blizzard. It
looks complicated.
It sounds fancy. It looks complicated, but it's actually just vanilla ice cream with something in it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's literally, and he's right. And honestly, the 66% motion, it was actually higher than that when he was at Kansas last year. Yep. Kansas last year led the nation in motion rate at almost 76%. Yeah. You might see it at greater levels in this Penn State offense moving forward. And what you have to, I love to the play, the the times the other third of the plays that didn't have motion, the reason for that was that's when they went into like hyper speed. Like no huddle, like I want tempo, I want to play run in 12 seconds, 15 seconds right now. Those are the times. So there's a purpose, even when he doesn't have motion and all that in there. They'll do it when they huddle up, and then when they go no huddle, they'll line up because, there's times in the huddle where coaches like that, they might call 2-3 plays in the huddle and just go, run them all. As long as we get a first down, run them all. The level of preparation and what clearly Andy Kotelnicki for the last, 6 or 7 months has done to prepare this team for all of this, it's a lot of stuff. I mean, I'm not just talking one guy on a jet like every team. They're shifting full formations. Everybody that can move will move. And he's got every personnel group you can think of out there. And the one thing, again, I think that's fun to me is Penn State's known, you got big offensive linemen, you got big tight ends, you got 3 or 4 tight ends. I got extra offensive linemen, like you said, out there in the slot. It's on number 71 in the slot. But he's found a way to, like, Big Tenify this offense. That's not a real word. Don't worry about it. But really use it because Kansas, it's like we're creating space.
Yeah,
and we're running outside. We have Devin Neal. I have Jalen Daniels.
That was a Big 12 offense.
It was a Big 12. He's gotten a Big 10 version of this offense. That would scare me if I'm opposing defenses. Like, he's already figured out how to use all these guys, even though we don't think of a lot of Penn State skill guys as elite players.
No, and it showed you. I mean, Harrison Wallace went off yesterday, man, and I think. Just the fact that, I understand he said, hey, it's still vanilla ice cream with stuff in it. But Penn State's offense last year was just straight vanilla ice cream. Yeah. Nothing to even spice it up at all. It was just straight up, hey, 2 scoops vanilla, nothing on it, please. Which sometimes would work in some games. And sometimes I do order that at the ice cream parlor. But sometimes, man, you want more on it, man. And last year, Penn State would never give you anything more. It's like going to an ice cream parlor, that's the only flavor they have. It's like, nope, that's what you're getting. Sorry. Nobody will go there. And that's why they fired the offensive coordinator. But, man, I was a huge fan of the hire of Kotelnicki, and he looked awesome yesterday. He looked so good. So I was I'm buying all the hype right now, Dawn. And I've done this plenty of times before as a Penn State fan. It's burned me, but I'm doing it again, man. I'm buying all the hype.
I am too. This guy's like genius level offensive play design. Really,
he's gonna be a head coach very soon.
They're gonna be a problem.
Yeah.
If their offense looks like that, they're gonna be a huge problem in the Big Ten.
They absolutely will. So, Dawn, what is the stat for you though that told the story of this game?
So for me, something I talked about last Tuesday in our preview was where's West Virginia getting explosive plays from, and can these receivers win? Can they win? And I know, trust me, I heard everybody. I heard all of you on Twitter ripping me for Garrett Greene being the, I think, 3rd best quarterback.
I got a lot too.
I got plenty about Garrett Greene. You want the fun part about Garrett Greene? Last year against Penn State, 16 for 27, 162 yards. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday against Penn State, 15 for 28, 161 yards. All Penn State did to Garrett Greene and Westphal was prove that they're better than them twice in the same exact manner, right? And Westphal, they had chances early, right? Fumbling snaps, new center, had issues with snapping the football, a couple 4th and 1s that didn't go their way, right? They had the running game going a little bit, but like just can't find those explosives, right? And to me, more than Greene, I'm a huge believer. It was the same way as last year. I think Garrett Greene's still in for a big season. I'm not getting off that after one game against this team. How many quarterbacks do they make look like that?
Oh, a lot.
All of them. Just about all of them, right? Still a big believer in Garrett Greene. The receivers are what worry me. They had a 53.5 team receiving grade yesterday. I just think they struggle to separate.
They were not getting open at all. Yeah.
I don't see right now a difference-making guy in this receiving core, and a lot of it still has to be, 1, manufactured through play calling and through play action and all of that, and 2, Garrett Greene, and he can do it. And there was a couple throws yesterday. I was like, man, those are still really good throws, right? Garrett Greene has to do so much for them, especially with his arm. He's got to be so precise when your guys are only getting a foot of separation, if that. I mean, he was thrown into some tight windows for the 2nd straight year against Penn State. They're going to be a really good offense. They're going to be a really explosive offense. I still think they could be in contention to be in the Big 12 title game. I really do. I think they're one of the 4 or 5 best teams in the Big 12, maybe 5 or 6, however you want. They're going to be in that race, and it's going to be a dogfight in the Big 12. They're not good enough to beat Penn State. And I think we saw a lot of that yesterday with, like, the teams that won, they were just better than the team across from them, right? And this was a case of that. I'm still a huge believer in Greene. I'm a little worried about the weapons, though, because we've just seen – I went over the man coverage splits in our preview, and yesterday they just couldn't separate at all, and not at a high enough rate to really give him a chance. And he did miss some throws. I'll admit that. Did he play his best game? No, he missed some throws. He had the fumble, but – it's hard when they're locked up constantly like that. Luckily, they don't have to play Penn State every week, so I'm sure every team is thankful for that. Every offense is thankful for that. But they have to get better on the outside, and then just like last year, just reboot and figure it out next week and move on.
Yeah, they definitely do. I think that was a big thing. And yeah, I got some hate too for Garrett Greene in my top 10 quarterback rankings. And I was like, man, if you're judging him off the Penn State game was a top 10 defense in the country and your receivers getting negative separation out there, it's like, give him a shot.
I think it's the same like we had it with Aller last year. If you're judging Aller
off the Ohio State Michigan
only
game.
off Ohio State, or if you're judging Michael Penix off of the Michigan national title game, like, you can't judge a quarterback against that Michigan deep. Like, you can't solely, okay, if Garrett Greene comes out in the next 4 games and struggles,
yeah, sure.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
But against this, 95, if not more, percent of quarterbacks look like that against Penn State on any given day, for sure.
And 95% of run games look like that against Penn State as well, which is a thing I'm going to go into. My most impressive part of the was the Penn State run team. Man, they looked awesome in this game. Now, I think some of it was the fact that West Virginia couldn't do anything to throw the ball. So Penn State's like, all right, we'll just stack the box. We can do one-on-one matchups and just run single coverage, and we'll be fine. But West Virginia yesterday, man, we talked about in our preview, they have a dangerous ground game with Garrett Greene, Jaheim White, C.J. Donaldson. They only allowed 3.4 yards per carry. Last year, West Virginia averaged more than that in all but one game. And their lowest total last year was 3.4 yards per carry. So that's tied for the lowest over the last 2 years for West Virginia. West Virginia in the whole season last year averaged 5.5 yards per carry, right? So, and then what I really was impressed by, Dalton, with that was that West Virginia actually broke a tackle on 31% of their attempts yesterday, which is a very high rate. So the tackling for Penn State could be improved, but they still only averaged 2.2 yards after contact, which means to me that defense, if one guy missed a tackle, there were 5 other guys ready to make that tackle, man. So Penn State, I thought, did a great job of swarming to that ball, man. And listen, we talked about Andy Kotelnicki, the new coordinator, and he was excellent. Tom Allen, also a new coordinator, a defensive coordinator, because Manny Diaz, now the head coach at Duke. Tom Allen, who was the Indiana head coach last year, he's the new DC for Penn State. He had an excellent performance as well in his first game, and I just thought Penn State, the way they swarmed to the football in the run game, man, was so impressive.
Absolutely. And look, that's what they do. You want 2 things on defense. You want guys who are talented. You want guys to give you effort, and they just do it. And they do it every year, but we've never had a question about Penn State being a top 10, if not top 5 defense, right? Like, if I know we talk about Ohio State, Michigan, Notre Dame. Penn State very well could be the 4th best defense in the country, if not better than that. I mean, they just have talent everywhere. Carter, Dennis Sutton, Kevin Winston, the linebackers were great. I mean, they're stacked. They're so stacked on defense every year. There's certain teams that play. It's not even fair. I can't even. And then to give you that effort and swarm to the football like that, they have everything you want in a defense. They just needed the offense to catch up, and for 1 week they did.